Hello on YouTube. Welcome to another episode of my Realpolitiks Let's Play. This is Northstar. I hope you, my viewers, are well, taking care of each other and being kind to yourselves. Those new to my channel, welcome. For returning folks, welcome back. Pause things, laid down for a while. My energy is really reaching end here with my long COVID tape. I can probably scrape out another video. That's important for those who haven't heard this spiel before, maybe because you're new to my channel. By the way, new folks, welcome. Check out my playlist series from the beginning. Check out the series from the beginning. It's all organized in a playlist, as are all my series from Hearts Iron 4 to Dwarf Fortress. Scramble to watch. That's I think my most No, it's not my most popular series, right? This second. One of my pop-up dungeon videos went sort of viral. I think it was the title. It just caught a lot of eyes. We had like 400 views or something insane, I think, which is not actually viral, but compared to 30, 40, 50 views, that's huge. I think I had a video once that had 1,000, so it's rare though. Pop dungeon though, probably the later videos will be back down to like 17. That's actually one of the smaller series I have usually. I think that's what an FTL video that got really big, and Civ 4 started off huge. Channel's starting to get exponentially more impressions after a very long time stagnating. Anyways, so I saved, I laid down, recuperate some of my energy. I'm in a excited mood. I managed to talk to someone, a medical driver, while in COVID. Getting medical transport. My car. I give it to a family member who needs to get to work, so I don't have use of it, even though I pay for the car insurance. And the mileage is being run up, and it's costing me money, even as I still waiting on Social Security SSI. Got cheated out of SSDI. Starting to build my YouTube anyways, so I can get money, sponsorships, maybe survive if I can get that money. I mean, SSI theoretically could be enough to survive if the rent doesn't get jacked up in the future at a very low rent place. Kind of a dump, I found. Well, parts of it are actually nice, but, well, the bathroom is still a dump, for instance. So, could be nice, or if the room flatmates. I like the British term flatmates. Not British, but if they would, I could just convince them to, keep the bathroom clean, to mop up some of the dried piss behind the toilet that there when I got here. That I don't have a mop. Money's very tight. I want to buy one because whatever he has mop, I'm like, let me use this, and he just keeps flaking on letting me actually use his mop. It's like, damn it, buddy. I shouldn't have. Right, it's past the first 3 minutes. YouTube probably cares less. Hopefully, darn it, buddy. You can't just let me use the mop. If I'm gonna do the work, you can at least let me use the tool that's meant for these kind of things. But no, he's mentally unstable, and you don't know. If you manage to find somewhere that's super cheap, you get all sorts of weird people in such a place very often. Landlords are, I think, offering such low rent out of the generous of their heart, whereas most landlords are very greedy and will charge the most they can. Yeah, it's a great financial investment. It's greed because all the people trying to go in and become landlords and charge as much as they can makes rent ever more expensive. People fall market forces, then rent will just get worse and worse in the U.S. because there is a shortage of communities allowing, through zoning, development of housing. So if there's a supply shortage, then the people who hold the supply can charge almost whatever they want. And in the long run, even the landlords don't benefit. Self-defeating. They might themselves, but I should say future landlords will have to pay more because housing, like purchase costs, will go up. So when they buy apartment buildings, and the only people really benefit in the end are the banks. Very high housing prices. Anyways, I talked to a medical transport driver. They know a lot of history, but they're very open-minded. Probably didn't have access to great education. Was able to explain a lot of the history of among other things, Marxism in the Soviet Union. It's from Marx's writings in Germany all the way to the collapse of the Soviet Union. Without the person necessarily having a lot of capitalist propaganda preconceptions. Ooh, anti-democratic cooperation. That'll actually benefit me this time. Because, they didn't know anything about this stuff, so their head wasn't full of crap. Because a lot of the stuff you get in U.S. schools is utter lies and nonsense. Trust me, someone who's a very good student of history. I paid a lot of attention to this crap and got my head filled with so much of it because I studied it very closely, and I later realized that the stuff I'd been taught was bullshit and had to unlearn a lot of things I learned. I was a very good student of what turned out to be lies, but I was smart enough to see some of the contradictions in it. So my head was full of nonsense that was taught in the U.S. schools, but I was smart enough to see that doesn't make sense, that isn't making sense. Certain things they couldn't even possibly spin, like the start of the Cold War. Like, hey, wait a second. The Berlin airlift occurred because there's this little pocket of land right in the middle of Germany that was controlled by the U.S. And why was that? Their stated reason was because the U.S. was using it as like a CIA base. Well, that's not hard to believe. And why do we claim the Soviets are bad guys for having socialist countries under their thumb in Eastern Europe? If you learned even the slightest bit of history of how the world was split into spheres of influence then in World War II, you know that the Soviets were literally told that they got this land and the West got this land, and there were some countries who wanted to go socialist, like Greece, that were actually forced capitalists. Whereas there are others that wanted to be capitalist, like Poland, that were forced socialist. So it went capitalist country, socialist leaning countries forced capitalist, capitalist leaning countries forced socialist. It was to create a neat little map, and it was Winston Churchill who drew up a lot of the details of that map. He was a pig. Just remembered something recently. One more terrible thing Churchill did. It's not coming to mind this very second, but he'd done so many things. It's easy to find a lot of horrible. He was a monster. He's in good company with Stalin. And Hitler, heck, because Churchill liked Hitler. Other countries discovered the advantages of having their own permanent underwater bases. New terrain, rich resources located deep in the ocean will be the first to claim as their own. This is, for Undertide. I can get another underwater base. I'll bankrupt my country doing it, so I might want to wait till after bankruptcy. I didn't realize this was going to spawn. I might have to give up on the whole Senegal thing. Oh well. Didn't realize I was going to get this event at this particular moment. Yeah, no, that wasn't really fair. There's a saying, the road to hell is paved in good intentions. Stalin is actually a great example of that. CIA internal reports, some of which Freedom of Information Act released before, I think it was Reagan cut the heart out of that, so now you can't get anything useful from Freedom of Information Act. I haven't been able to since the 80s, but in the 70s, a lot of stuff went public. It turned out internal CIA reports on Stalin, actually, and indicated that the CIA fully believed he was a committed socialist. He wasn't some petty tyrant who just hurt people because he enjoyed causing pain. Portraying him as a sadist, which happens a lot in movies about him and stuff, is a lie. He was someone who was fanatically in favor of socialism and was willing to do anything, even mass murder, to make it the system of the world. And capitalism is vile, leads to genocide, and actually the U.S. committed 7 genocides during the Cold War. And the preeminent moral power when Stalin was around, not the U.S., but the British Empire for most of his life. The British Empire did worse things in Stalin's life than the Soviet Union did under Stalin. I'm thinking in particular of the Bengal famine, the first and second Iranian genocides, although during the first, Stalin was not the leader of the Soviet Union, but he was a major political figure. It happened during World War I. The Russian revolutionaries took power at the end of World War I. So yeah, Iran, which is here, was co-invaded by the Soviet Union, which Armenia and Azerbaijan were part of it, from the northwest, and the British from the south, with which they had bases in Kuwait and I think Qatar, UAE, so down near invasion by sea, and also from Pakistan, which is part of the British Raj of India and Pakistan. So British forces poured in from the south, Soviet from the north during World War II. Sorry, that's World War II plan. World War One. I'm tired. During World War One, it was the British and Rick. Was the Russians or was it just the British? Oh, got it. Yeah, it was just the British. It was the whole area was occupied by the British. I'm sorry, and this is the worst famine genocide of the two by far. Some estimates, I think, have up to 1 million people were starved to death, but statistics are incredibly bad on what the population was before and after the famine. So some people try and claim, oh, it was only 30 or 40,000 others. I believe the high-end figures. It's partly by looking at the sources who try and downplay it, and they're, of course, it's always okay to downplay crimes of the British Empire, but never okay to, it's just, no, those people, it's never okay to downplay things, period, like that. And yeah, some of the historians did, they're scumbags. To be clear, I was sarcasm there, and I'm saying, yeah, it's never okay to downplay this kind of things. One of our top generals has suffered another string of losses. It seems that he's no longer effective in frontline positions. Problem is, he's very influential and popular among the brass, i.e., among other generals. Replacing him would be difficult. Promote him, allowing less chance to prove he can still lead the troops. This can lead to a follow-up event where he succeeds or he can fail. I think even worse. Or let's promote him from behind the front lines to a nice, safe desk somewhere. That'll cause an happiness to go even higher. I don't necessarily need a rebellion right now, but I'll give him one last chance. Costs money to replace war loss. Replace troops, and you don't replace war losses if you have rebellion. This does run some risk here, but I'm about to finish elite infantry training, so I think I can do okay as long as with the ambush actions, holding off infiltration for a little while. It's going to be more marginal than it was in the past, but oh no, now the Indonesians are winning. Darn it. Well, elite infantry training, I'll shore that up. So yeah. Stalin is an example of the road to hell being caved with good intentions. Someone who wanted to do what he saw as the right thing, and end up doing horrific things that were not actually necessary to make the Soviet Union survive. The Soviet Union needed to survive. It certainly would have been terrible if it was crushed by Nazi Germany and Nazis would have won World War II. And he actually correctly predicted that the Nazis would invade in 1931. He predicted in 10 years the West would invade. 1941, right on schedule, to within, I think, a couple months. It was even the same time year he predicted the Nazis invaded. So he was remarkably prescient about that. But he didn't have to do the things he did to prepare the Soviet Union. It was not necessary to be so cruel. Or rather, it wasn't cruelty, because it indicated CIA analysis and stuff indicates even the CIA didn't believe that. It's propaganda. Didn't have to be so fanatical. He didn't have to take such harsh measures to achieve his goals. They were unnecessary. And in some cases counterproductive. Like the famine that happened in Ukraine, the Holodomor, that occurred partly because of an extremely aggressive industrialization plan, which was so aggressive that it led to famine, which was counterproductive. Now, there was racism involved and people withholding food they shouldn't have been and all these other things, but none of that could have happened if not for the context of an overly aggressive industrialization plan and just absolutely fanatical attachment to the industry without doing it in the wrong way too, by like exporting lots of food, to putting the pain on people to have less availability of food. Or other ways like you want to industrialize very fast? How about you put the soldiers to work building infrastructure and instead of since, you already have them around, and have people would have been building infrastructure do other tasks that provide resources to industrialize. There's other more creative ways that things could have been done instead of selling so much food that things like that were even possible. And then ignoring reports of food shortages early on that were being caused partly by local officials breaking laws. I mean, some of the local officials were executed for what they did, but under an authoritarian approach to government that ignored reports of failures and said, oh, it was just capitalist wreckers trying to make things sound bad. No, there was actually things going very badly. Oh, green means I won. I thought that was the Indonesians. I'm like, oh no. For those new to this video, yeah, Indonesia attacked me, and I've been holding them off, but not able to beat them, even though I do have the capability of getting troops to Indonesia. We're much too closely matched, and they have overwhelming numbers of reinforcements. I couldn't possibly wear them down through attrition. That's what I was going to try. Okay. Could do the Great Offensive. Costs some money, but not a ton. Increases militarism target and militarism, it says. Let's give an instant gain. I'm at 6 now. To check when that's done. Cool. Some money, which can be used to pay down the debt, reducing interest a little bit. Right, and some action points. I got 5,000 in reserve now. Mission local autonomies. Spend a bunch of AP to try and bring Malta into my block. That might be the wrong choice. Venus, next gen city, arms industry, and what else? This would be 3,000. It's only 3,850. That's still. Oh, well, I could wait till I finish mine infrastructure in Deponia. And maybe what else can I build here? Oh, tourist infrastructure. I could do that. I may have to do some espionage operations. I may actually want to try fabricating claims on Bulgaria again, or Western Yugoslavia on their land. Senegal thing I'm gonna have to forget about. The juicy target to invade to do, neocolonialist nonsense or whatever. But this is a thing I could sink AP into, but I think it would bankrupt me. Oh, no, not entirely. Yeah, I could do a level now. Have to be careful with this mad debt number, but it's not. Boom. In the race. If I'm number 1, I get Ordinary Type. Number 2, I just get a Coronet, which I guess I could disclaim, but I should obviously try and grab it. If I had Undertide in Deponia, that would be awesome. 2 underwater bases instead of 1. Improving relations with the People's Democratic Front again would make the free movement happy. Giving aid to a bunch of countries, my HGI goes below 45. It says, whoever wrote this description was just a radical anti-socialist to demonizing these guys, but what this really represents is the practical way to get HGI low is not cancel education or something. It's to send all your experts to aid third world countries until your HGI falls below 45. So massive charity work, massive solidarity, mutual aid, whatever. Cool. Just seeing if there's anything I can do to please any of them. Not really. Ecology. People I could make happy if I lowered taxes. That's about it. Because they're like tax evading pricks who use a church to avoid paying their taxes. Income. Economic development level. Really? Yeah, that's not going to happen for a very long time. Resign this. Hurts my score a tiny bit, but It's not going to happen realistically. So, boom. Oh. This is the cheapest way to... This money is tight. Train infantry, not tanks or anything. There's some tanks my allies have, so... Okay. Great offensive. Done. And I guess starting the post-war rebuild, I need this active at some point. Local autonomy is to be done very soon. Yeah, I already explained how the Soviet Union was actually not an economic failure people falsely portray it as, especially libertarian, non-nut job types. They actually start off almost identical GDP per capita to Brazil. And by the time they collapsed, they had around 55% that of the US. When you count it fairly, some people try and either claim there was massive fraud in economic indicators. It was a little bit. By the time they collapsed, it wasn't nearly as massive as it was when the Soviet Union was young, when there was massive fraud in like Stalin's era. Or just not counting state-owned enterprises at all, even though that was the vast majority of the Soviet economy. It was businesses where the government employed people and produced goods and services, so you have to count that in their economy. When you count it all up, fair measures of counting their economy have it at a little more than half the economic strength per person in the United States, which would be around $50,000 GDP per capita today. Of course, they didn't live today, but if they'd maintained that relative strength to the present moment, and so that's more than 4 times the current economic strength of Brazil. It started off neck and neck, and in fact a little ahead of the Soviet Union at the end of the Russian Civil War, when the Soviet Union was really, I mean, it technically existed then. It was one of 2 states in a civil war of who would actually control Russia. They didn't even control half the country, more than half by land actually. Start off with a few small pockets, but these were some of the most densely populated industrial areas. Still, they didn't control the majority of the country. You can't call that the government of the country until they won their civil war. Okay. Shoot. Non-aggression pact. Malta. Okay, now I can bring them into my block, but oh, I don't have the required units to wait till these infantry finish in 45 days. Cool. Now I'm about to go bankrupt, so first invite him into my block. Cost 500 gold. 65% chance they say yes. 12,300. No, my economy has grown enough that, yeah, I won't go bankrupt if I bring him into my block. And then it'll give me some money. Delay bankruptcy a little bit. There's so many AP I can't possibly use. Of course, this isn't free either. Still, if I do... Yeah. Will Indonesia just give up? They're never going to defeat me. I can never defeat them. It's just an eternal war that just... I mean, maybe that's the point, to keep me from recovering. I do need the diplomatic offensive. Where is it? Let's see. Yeah, diplomatic offensive ad hoc in order to be able to bring Malta my block. So it's not a wasting though. I can't do more monger productions right now. HGI to 76. Not. The reward's not nearly worth how hard that would be. Nope. Taken. %9 participation. Yeah, I have to put more AP into that. Universal military service. Also really not worth cost. I mean, well, the reward. Not worth the cost. Come on, give me something I want to do. Guess I could do that to get block expansions, but I go bankrupt too often. Ah, anti-democratic cooperation. That, in defense against imperialism, totalitarianism, in defense against imperialism, totalitarian authoritarian countries, which is neoliberal nonsense, so we consider socialist countries to be that automatically, will cooperate economically over their personal differences. This treaty was officially ratified by the UN Council. So it's anti-capitalist cooperation, but then it was renamed because we have to spin everything. Maybe less the CIA hate us. Maybe the devs are more left-wing. I think they're just afraid of being censored. Do things that only cost AP, like extended labor laws, but no, I really do want to do the arms thing. Once I finish those infantry. 14 days. Not doing anything for 14 days. Costs a little money. Not worth it. Give me a sec, guys. Oh, okay, here we go. Let's start back up with resource imports. These are quick. They don't cost very much to implement. I might do the fossil fuel energy for a while again. Hurts my diplomatic relations. It's extremely quick to implement. Wait, no, it's not. It's actually extremely slow to implement. Sometimes I get tasked to do this, though. Well, darn. Still may have uses for cancel small ports, move to big. There is a use for that. Besides being able to maybe help more countries and stuff, resources enough. Prevents excuse me. Cancel this eventually, but no, not worth it. Eventually atomic weapons I'll need a certain amount of resources for. Make a useful deterrent from being attacked, like how Indonesia keeps attacking me. Just the threat of them is something. Repay my debts. You know what repays my debts? Bankruptcy. It always says that your debts have to be zero. It doesn't say how. Or you run up a tiny bit and after going bankrupt and then you pay it off again. If that doesn't work, it's either way. I will, quote, repay my debts by canceling them. I am chuckling. It's kind of ridiculous you can do that. Okay. Let's see my mad debt level. 12,360. Boom. I can now do Malta, but this video has gone long, so I'm going to leave this as a cliffhanger. I'll see you all next video. Take care of each other and yourselves. May always find a guiding star lead on. Adieu.